Let's grab some cheap views and clicks for your YouTube ads and figure out how much you're actually going to pay. Timestamps below, along with some other helpful links and resources, including a link to our new YouTube ads guide if you decide YouTube ads is right for you. Now, when it comes to ad costs, well, of course, it depends, but nobody really wants to hear that. So on average, you're going to pay anywhere from 10 to 30 cents. But you're not here for averages. You probably want specifics. So let's jump into how much you're going to pay per view. And so what you're looking at here is an average based upon the different targeting types. We'll get more into that when we talk about cost factors. And these are for in-feed ads. So these are the ads that people see in suggested or in search results and they click on them. And so this is the range that you could expect to pay in 2022 and beyond. Spoiler alert, costs are just always going up. Now, these are costs per view. What about cost per click? What if you want to run ads and actually get people off of YouTube? Well, this is what we currently see in terms of our own personal account. I'm not doing client data for some silly reasons, but for our own personal account, this is what we're currently seeing for cost per click. And so this is running in-stream ads that are skippable. Someone sees our ad and they click on it. They come over to our landing page or sales page and check out our offer or join our email list. And finally, the number everybody wants to know, what is the cost per subscriber? Probably going to get some more hate comments for this, but here's what we currently have as our current cost per subscriber. Wow, is it not pretty? Now, I went all the way back to 2017 when I first started all these experiments, and we got as low as 79, and in one instance, just one, we got it down to 30 cents. But as you can see, we are far, far away from 30 cents now, and unfortunately, it looks like it's just going to get even more expensive. Now, there's one more big question to address. Is it still possible to get 1 cent views? And do you even want to get 1 cent views? Well, I can't answer the second question for you, but I can answer the first one. And that is yes, it is possible to get 1 cent views. It's relatively simple, actually. All you need to do is set up a campaign with no location targeting whatsoever, set your bid to 1 cent, and YouTube will find all little corners of the globe to show your video for 1 cent. So if you're just trying to get that view count up because you want the video to look like a lot of people watched it, and you're not going to do the black hat thing of paying for fake views, then you can go this route and you can get views for around 1 cent, if not a little, like a fraction of a penny less. But that's the quick, short answer of how much are you actually going to pay and how much do these whole YouTube ads cost? Now, when you pay is different, and then we'll get into the cost factors and some common traps you need to avoid to make sure you're not paying way more than you should for your actual YouTube ads if you decide to run them. So when you pay depends upon the type of ad that you're running. So we have in-feed ads, we have skippable in-stream, and then we have non-skippable in-stream. We'll focus on the first two, and I'll just kind of mention the last one because as small business owners, we really shouldn't be using non-skippable in-stream ads. So for the in-feed ads, these are the ones that show up around YouTube as suggested videos on the homepage if you're paying a lot of money, and then of course in search results. And for these, you're going to pay pretty much when someone clicks on the thumbnail. So they click on the thumbnail, 3 seconds goes by, and you pay. It's pretty much as soon as someone clicks, you're going to pay per view. We'll get to why you would use these over the other ones in a moment. Now, what's cool about skippable in-stream ads, you've probably seen these because you're watching YouTube. You wait 5 seconds and then you can skip them. However, as advertisers, we only pay when someone watches at least 30 seconds of that ad. So if someone watches 28 seconds of the ad and goes, okay, now I'm bored, skip, well, guess what? We don't pay because they didn't watch a full 30 seconds. Now for non-skippable in-stream ads, you probably guessed this, you just pay as soon as the ad starts playing, right? Because it's non-skippable. These are typically 6 to 15 seconds, and they're great for brand awareness, big companies who just want to plaster their name all over the place. Not so much for us when we're trying to grow our channel, email list, or make some sales. And of course, in-feed ads are going to be cheaper than in-stream. So if you're just getting started with YouTube ads, you're going to pay anywhere from 5 to 10 cents for in-feed ads. Those are the ones people are going to click on and watch. And then for in-stream ads, you're going to be paying 15 to 30 cents. You could go as high as 50 cents in some instances, but it just depends upon your niche, industry, and of course, what you're trying to accomplish. Now, there is a little bit of confusion, especially if you're brand new to advertising, because we've so far been talking about the cost per actual view. Now, the total cost that you pay for all the views that you want, that depends upon your budget. So So this is a quick little chart that shows you a breakdown of how many views and what your costs might look like based upon how much you're willing to spend per day or per month. And so as you can see here, the lower your cost per view, the more views you're going to get. But when you set your total budget, Google is going to work to not go over that. Technically, they can go over 20%. That's somewhere in their fine print terms of service. But for the most part, they do a pretty good job of not overspending. So if you say, hey, I want to spend $5 a day and your cost per view is going to be 10 cents. Well, as soon as all those 10 cents add up to the $5, your campaign will just stop. And then the next day, it'll spend another $5. And so that's how you can calculate the total amount that you pay. Now, obviously, we control the total amount because you know how much you can afford to spend on ads. But the good news is there are several factors that we can manipulate and actually control, well, as much as Google allows us, to actually lower what we pay per click, or pay per click or pay per view. So hopefully you can come back in a month or two and roll your eyes at this video and go, wow, Jason's way overpaying for ads. I am so much better than he is. So let's go ahead and go through it. So the first thing that's going to really affect how much you pay per view is going to be who you're targeting, obviously. So there are lots of different targeting options here. And a big trap new advertisers fall into is using the wrong type of targeting for their goal. So typically you're going to have two goals. Number one, you want to drive traffic off of YouTube using an in-stream ad that drives people to a landing page where you collect their contact information. Or number two, you want to grow your channel, in which case you use in-feed ads that direct people to videos on your channel. So hopefully they like the video they watch, they subscribe, and then they keep watching and you make AdSense revenue or however else you tend to monetize your channel. So when it comes to these two different strategies, something that's important to note is the more focused you are with saying, hey, Google, I just want this small group of people, the more you're going to pay, as opposed to,
hey, just show my video to anyone in this general category.
Then it's going to be relatively cheap. So when it comes to running in-stream ads, driving traffic off of YouTube, go narrow. These are the audiences that you should be using. They're going to be more expensive, but they're going to get you better returns on your ad spend because you're not going to have a bunch of people in there who aren't a good fit for you. However, if you're trying to grow a channel, you actually want to average your cost out over a larger audience and pay less per view because you need to cast a wider net. Now, it might seem a little confusing, like, well, can't I just reverse the two or just test out what works? Of course you can, but as you're just getting started, these are the audiences that I recommend using for these two different distinct strategies. Because when it comes to growing a channel, you want to spread and average your costs out, and you're going to find your average cost per subscriber is a lot lower when you have more people who aren't a good fit. However, if you're trying to drive traffic off of YouTube, you do want to be a little more narrow and pay more so you don't get those tire kickers and people who aren't actually going to purchase from you. So that's number one. Make sure you use the right type of audience for whatever you're trying to achieve. Again, here's the diagram, timestamps below. You can always come back. Now, this next one is really easy. Everyone can do it. It's just changing your inventory type. Now, just as a bigger audience targeting means your cost per view is going to be less, the more opportunities we give Google and YouTube to show our ads, the less we're going to pay per click. And so when you're setting up your campaign for the first time or you're going back to fix this, go ahead and under inventory settings, select expanded inventory, and then scroll down and uncheck content not yet labeled. There we go. And those two clicks will save you so much money when it comes to your cost per view. Why? Because long story short, big budget corporate spenders, they throw a lot of money at Google and YouTube, but they're scared of showing up on anything remotely controversial that would wind up them being in another Twitter mob, right? And so what YouTube has done is said, okay, well, we're going to make all these tiers. And so big corporations, they stick in the first two because they're really scared of anything controversial. Whereas we can say, hey, we don't care. It's our ideal customer. They're choosing to watch the video. So why should we care? And all of a sudden we get to show up on videos and places on YouTube where the big companies who are spending a lot of money don't want to show up. So what happens? We have less competition, which means the prices are lower. And so this is just a really quick way to reduce the cost you're paying per click. Now, another common mistake a lot of new advertisers make with running YouTube ads is not paying attention to Google telling them whether or not their ads are actually any good. And so we can go into our campaign settings and we can add a column called display rank or display lost is rank. That's a weird way to say it. But anyway, so what this column does is it tells us how good or bad or ugly our video ad is in the eyes of Google and YouTube. So what this is telling us is the percentage of time we didn't show up because our ad sucked. That's pretty much what Google's saying. So if we sort this and we see ads, this is at 80, 90, 70%, that means 80, 90, 70% of the time, our ad wasn't shown because Google didn't like it. Whereas if we reverse it and we see that it's only 5, 10, 30%, that means that Google and YouTube really like the content of our ad and they think our ad is relevant to who we're telling them to show the ad to. And so that's actually going to lower our ad costs. So we'll get to a budget trick in a moment, but this is one area where you can look and see, hey, am I even targeting the right person? Because again, the narrower you're targeting, the more you're going to pay, and the worse you're targeting, the more you're going to pay. Because Google and YouTube, yes, they like making money, but they also like people staying on their platform. So they want to make sure the ads that you're running are actually relevant to whoever you're asking them to show them to. So this is a great column to look at. And also it will help you figure out what types of creative to actually make. So if you want some more details on how to actually put together an ad to drive traffic off of YouTube, link in the description to our YouTube ads playbook that has a full 90 to 2-minute formula for your ads to drive leads and sales. Now, when it comes to your budget, this is going to be the last one, your budget factor can actually play a role in how much you're spending per view. And so this is a little counterintuitive, but bear with me. Take a look at this campaign that has a budget loss of 5.19%. This means we are only missing out on 5% of our potential reach because of our budget. The next column over, average position, shows that we are first. And because we're only missing out on 5% of our potential reach because of our budget, it means we could scale our budget to the moon. We could say, hey, Google, spend $1,000 a day, and not much would change. And so something that you can do here, which is a cool little trick, is actually try lowering your cost per view a couple of cents. I know it sounds weird, like, well, it looks like it's maxed out. Shouldn't I just leave it alone? Well, remember, Google Ads is an auction-based system. And so it's possible when you see your budget is almost maxed out like this, where you can actually lower your cost per view, keeping your budget the same, and all of a sudden you're going to get more views or the same amount of views, just paying less. And so it's really weird. It doesn't necessarily make sense mathematically, but just something that we found when you're looking at that budget, the display rank lost is budget column. And so that's another column, of course, you can add in your Google Ads campaign dashboard. And of course, you can filter and see what campaigns you can scale and which ones, you could spend lots more money and not a whole lot more will happen. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you got some value out of this video. Most importantly, you're a lot more clear on what the ad costs actually are, the factors that go into them, and of course, how to choose the right targeting and inventory settings so you lower your cost per view. So check out the link in the description to our Google Ads playbook, link in the cards in the description to our full-blown 2022 YouTube ads guide, and go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe for more guides just like this one, and until the next, keep building the business you love.